Namaste to all. Today we are going to talk about a certain aspect of the Itihasa Puranas that has practical bearing. In the talk series, we have been looking at the different stories of Krishna, different stories from Ramayana, and the different characters, how they have a direct implication even in our everyday life. While many think these may be stories, and while even in India there is this false understanding that these are mythologies, it is a direct opposite of what this word means. Itihasa means itihasa, thus it happened, which is history. But the colonial mind twisted it and started calling it mythology. And even the average Indian, average Hindu starts calling it as mythology. So, we have been trying to develop a particular type of insight that would let us to take this wisdom and apply it in our daily life. In that series, we already looked at Krishna and the art of problem solving. If you go to the namesake YouTube channel, which is called Sanatanam Arivom, you will find all the old English talks as well as the Tamil talks. And in that, you will be interested in looking at the Krishna and the art of problem solving, which lays out the entire idea of how Krishna is looking at different problems and how he is coming with different resolutions. Today, the talk is going to be like as usual. We will have two parts. The first part will be focused on the story of Krishna, and the second part will be focused on the practical applications. If we look only at the Krishna story, we will not get the practical application message. And if we look like only the practical application part, it looks like a management lesson. So, to get a complete picture, we are going to get both the story as well as the applications. How many of us realize that we are facing one problem after the other in our life? Maybe some of us are not lucky enough to face any problems, but most of us have some problem or the other in our lives. And it is most common experience for most people that when we solve one problem, maybe immediately, maybe after a while, we have another problem that has replaced. And it looks probably like a bigger problem. But imagine if you had a problem that lasted for decades and you are forced to come with different solutions to contain it, to manage it, to overcome it. It's hard for us to come with some examples like that. Maybe we can say India's freedom struggle. Maybe we can say the Islamic invasion. But again, these problems were not looked from the lens of understanding what we have today. So, it is probably not going to be the same league. And these are not problems confronted by a single individual alone. This is probably the entire country. And different people perceive it differently. Even during the British rule, if we thought, we could have easily overpowered them, except for this fake ahimsa message that was blasted non-stop we could have easily overthrown them. At the peak, there were about 2 lakh British soldiers or Britishers, not even soldiers, Britishers. Even if 10 people took each white man, we could have easily overpowered them, but we didn't. So, how do we look at a problem in life, and who do we look at as a role model? How do we solve our own life problems? So, we have to look no further than Krishna. I have pinned in the top the article that is underlying this talk. This is part of the Practical Krishna series in the blog, and we will also continue in the same theme with the series of talks. Now, the interesting story is many times we don't have a full picture of who are the people even in Mahabharata. If I ask who is the most powerful villain encountered in Mahabharata, most people will say Duryodhana. Whereas Duryodhana was not even a big character. He had to take the support of Bhishma, Drona, Karna, even Salya, and eventually Ashwatthama to do his job. So, by himself, Duryodhana was only a positional leader who sat at the throne, and he was not even that menacing. Then we can say, oh, it must have been Kamsa. Well, Kamsa was another character who used a lot of sidekicks when Krishna eliminated everyone, and when Krishna came to confront him in Mathura, he was too weak to even confront. He literally collapsed without a fight, almost like a heart attack or like a fake fight. So he is not even that powerful. So who is the most powerful person who raised big armies, repeated problems? There's only one character. His name is called Jarasandha. This problem lasted for decades, and Krishna comes with at least 3 clear solutions, 3 different solutions to handle him. We are going to look at a mixture of Mahabharata and Bhagavatam for our reference, and we are going to look into the story, and then we will look into this wonderful management lesson. So today is an exciting day where we are going to get so many management lessons for our life from this one single episode. We are going to package it in a slightly different way than what Mahabharata and Bhagavatam gives, by making this entire theme centered around Jarasandha, by culling from different portions, from different parvas, and we are going to blend them in a sequence so that we can get a full picture of Jarasandha. So Jarasandha, as many of you know, was the father-in-law of Kamsa. He had 2 daughters, Asti and Prapti. These 2 daughters were married to Kamsa, and when Krishna came back to Mathura, they left for Magadha, and they went and cried on the shoulders of their father and told this little boy came from a village and he killed their husband. So now Jarasandha was the king of Mathura, and he was enraged that he brought 23 Akshaunis to the doorstep of Mathura, and he laid a siege. Mathura was well fortified though. But you have to understand what is an Akshauni, right? Because sometimes we hear all these big numbers and we don't even know. Just for context, in Mahabharata, both the sides that fought had put together 18 Akshaunis. The Pandavas and the Kauravas put together had only 18 Akshaunis, and Akshauni is a unit of the military. Just like you have the battalion, you have the corps command and things like that. This was a unit. In one Akshauni, now just for quick reference, Kauravas had 11 Akshaunis, Pandavas had 7 Akshaunis. So despite that gap, due to Krishna's blessing and grace, they were able to win. So in one Akshauni, there are 4 types of, this is called Chaturanga Sena, right? 4 types of armed forces are there. You have 21,870 chariots, that is Ratha. Then you got 21,870 Gaja, that is elephant. You got 65,610 horses, that is Toraga, and 109,350 foot soldiers, that is Pada. Now, multiply that by 23, you get some big numbers. I'll leave that math to you. Now, at the doorstep is Jarasandha, who is bent on wiping out Krishna, Mathura, and all the people in between. And remember, Krishna all along was a little boy playing in Vrindavan. He had just gone to Sandipani Maharishi for 2-month quick training. He mastered one art and science every day. So in 64 days, he learnt all the 64 arts. He and Balarama came back. And shortly after they had come, this siege had happened. So you have to still imagine this Balakrishna was probably like 10, 11 years or something like that. Now, the people are so worried. The army of Mathura was tiny, minuscule. You want to imagine how the army would have looked like? It's very, 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 very small. You remember Lord of the Rings, where the king returns back with a small group of people to take back that castle. And then before he brings that ghost army, you will see that they are very, very small, kind of outnumbered. And even when they all try to go and help that guy who took the ring and put it in the fire in the volcano, you will see the visualization of a very, very tiny army that is overpowered. That would be an understatement in this case. Now, what Krishna decided was, hey, I want to destroy this Jarasandha, and he remembered what is the purpose of his avatara. His purpose was to destroy the evil people, uphold dharma, and protect the pious people. So Krishna decided, he thought about all the divine weapons, and he immediately thought that he would get all access to them. 2 chariots came, according to Bhagavatam. In Dasamaskanda, this is beautifully described. And what happened is, these 2 chariots came filled with all sorts of weapons. And Balram Anna, whom we'll refer to as our Anna, because Balram Anna is a bit confused. Like we introduced our favorite character Balram Anna. Krishna went to him and told, hey, don't worry, all these weapons are yours only. You will recall all that weaponry, their usage, the minute you touch it. So Krishna led Balarama and a small army, and they went out and they started to face this ocean of Jarasandha's endless army. Now, here is a situation. Krishna takes his Saranga. He is also a Saranga Pani, right? So, Rama's bow is called Kodanda. So, he is Kodanda Pani. Krishna's bow is called Saranga. So, he is Saranga Pani. So, Krishna takes that bow and twanged it. And the advantage of this kind of attack is, you don't have to choose a target, because everything is your target. Any direction, anything comes, you attack. So Balrama and Krishna had lot of fun destroying that entire army. Now Balramana, as usual, was impetuous, and he goes and grasps the lonely Jarasandha, whom he had completely overpowered. He was ready to kill him. And this is where we refer to Bhagavatam with its wonderful description. It says, Varayam asa govindastena karya chikirshaya. So Krishna wanted to think a long-term plan, karya chikirshaya. He said like, no, don't kill him. Balramana is totally confused. This fellow brought 23 Akshaunis and he is threatening to kill us. Now you are saying, Krishna, don't kill him. We will come back to all the learning points, but this is a very important point to remember because it is critical. And then what happened? They humiliated him and they let him go. Our lonely Jarasandha returns back to his kingdom, but he doesn't have the face to go to the kingdom. So he wants to go and destroy himself. He wants to go and kill himself. But all the other vassal kings, all the Asuric forces, they come and tell, hey, don't do that. And they all come back and say, maybe Krishna got lucky. Don't worry about it. We will regroup and we will do that. Now Krishna and Balramana went back to Mathura. People were overjoyed. They saw these two heroes are there, nothing more, because they had not seen the bravery of Krishna. They had only heard stories of how Krishna killed all Kamsa's minions. We also saw about the spiritual insight of Krishna's killing of Kamsa's minions in another talk. That is also available in Tamil and English in the namesake YouTube channel. Now what happened? Only Jarasandha's life is spared. Same way, 17 times he comes. All 17 times Krishna destroys. Look at the math of the number of horses, elephants, chariots, foot soldiers, everybody. Krishna and Balrama wipe everyone and just let go Jarasandha. On the 18th time, another interesting thing happened. Jarasandha is like that Vikram and Betal, right? So he won't give up. Just like Vikram won't give up, Betal also won't give up. So he brought the army for the 18th time, another 23 Akshauni. I have no idea, I could find no reference why he was obsessed with the number 23. And despite facing 17 defeats, I don't know why that 23 was important for him. And then this time, just one day before Jarasandha's army was supposed to reach Mathura, there was another guy called Kalayavana who amassed even bigger army, and he was laying siege to Mathura. Now Krishna wanted to avoid that these two armies join forces and become a bigger problem for the people. So Krishna immediately called Vishwakarma, the architect for the Devas, and he said that he wanted a beautiful city called Dwaraka to be built. And through his yoga power, he relocated all the people, including the cows, calves, pots and pans and everything were relocated, leaving behind a small force. And how Krishna dealt with Kalayavana and his army, we will not take it up today because that will be part of another talk. We will have a different insight from another day, for another day. Now, Kalayavana and his army's wealth. Krishna had a small team of people struggling to carry all that wealth. Now, Jarasandha catches up with Krishna and this group, and for the 18th time he brings the 23 Akshauhini Sena and he starts attacking. Now Krishna and Balarama act as if they are afraid and caught unawares, and they trick Jarasandha into believing that they were afraid, and they start running. They start running and they climbed a huge mountain, and this mountain is called Pravarshana. Even today you can see in Gujarat, Rajasthan side, you will find this mountain there. And then he asked his army to search that mountain and he could not find it. So he said, set fire to the entire mountain. But Balarama and Krishna jumped and escaped from that fire, and they returned to Dwaraka from a different route. Our Jarasandha thought, okay, job done, Krishna is killed. He goes back satisfied that he was able to kill and defeat and get his revenge. Shortly thereafter, he came to know that Krishna had already escaped. So he gave him a title, Ranchor. Ranchor in Hindi means, or in Sanskrita means, the one who ran away from the battlefield. Remember, for a Kshatriya, the real honor is in fighting, not in showing your back. So next the scene relocates to Krishna going to Dwaraka, and he was there, and one day, when a few years later, Rukmani, there was a king called in Vidarbha Desha, there was a king, and his daughter was Rukmini. She had an elder brother called Rukman, and they were other like 4 other brothers. And the father Bhishmaka, he was very happy to know that Rukmani was in love with Krishna. This was a kind of different type of love. We will look at this as secrets hidden in Rukmani Vivaha in a separate talk. And the secrets hidden in Rukmani Vivaha are a foundation for a lot of us, and it can give a lot of insight, so we will not go deep into that. So what Jarasandha thought was, the best way to attack Krishna is to form a political alliance like how they do in Maharashtra. All odd forces combined together. Then he found his chamcha, Shishupala, who was the king of Chedi, and he said, why don't we get Rukmini to be married to Shishupala? That way Rukman, Shishupala and a few other useless characters can join forces and become a strong power to take on Krishna. That was the master plan of Jarasandha. But Rukmini sends a message how to kidnap her. It's not even kidnap, how to let her escape and marry her. So Krishna obliged, and Balaramanna, knowing that Krishna left in a hurry, he brought 1 Akshauhini strong Vrishni force that was following Krishna at a terrific speed. Remember, tomorrow morning marriage, tonight evening only the messenger is going from Rukmani and reaching Krishna. So where is Nagpur and where is Dwaraka? Even today, if you want to come in train, it will take much longer. So Jarasandha was again forced to confront Krishna, and he lost pitiably, and right in front of them Krishna took Rukmani. Just about Shishupala was about to marry Rukmani. Then Jarasandha is telling that, look, don't worry, time is a funny thing. 17 times even I got defeated, but 18th time I was able to defeat Krishna. So we will have to wait for the time. And many years passed. One day, Krishna was sitting with the king. Remember, Krishna was never the king. He was only the king maker. And Krishna was sitting, and the messenger came, and the messenger told about the problems of the countless kings that were defeated by Jarasandha, and they were all rotting in prison. And Jarasandha was planning to do some sort of ritual and kill all these kings and then become invincible. That was his plan. At the same time, Narada Maharishi came there. He came with the news that there was a desire in the heart of Yudhishthira, who was already the king of not Hastinapura, Indraprastha. And he said, like, Yudhishthira wants to perform Rajasuya Yajna. And then if you do Rajasuya Yajna, you become the emperor. Now Krishna, he could have understood the situation, but he had Uddhava, his friend, his counsel, and he asked Uddhava, what should we do? Uddhava said, the emperor Yudhishthira can never happen if we don't eliminate Jarasandha, and again taking a huge army would be killing a lot of people. So instead of killing a lot of people, why don't we challenge him to a one-on-one duel and finish him? Because Jarasandha had one situation, special situation. Any Brahmana comes and asks anything, he would give. So Uddhava said, why don't you go disguised as a Brahmana and say, like, give me a fight, and he will say, I will give you. So Krishna immediately packed his bags, went to Indraprastha, stayed with the Pandavas for some time, for a few months. And then eventually the topic came. You know how Yudhishthira will not, as soon as he sees Krishna's face, he will not say, Krishna, I want to be Raja. He won't say that. He'll give him this Atiteya, and he slowly made it comfortable, and he made sure that he was able to propose the idea that he can be a Rajasuya, he can do Rajasuya Yajna, and he can become the emperor. So now Krishna remembered Uddhava's plan, and he said, let me take Bhima and Arjuna and we will go. Yudhishthira was a bit concerned, but of course when Krishna says, he knows better. So he sent Bhima and Arjuna. So all the three went. They disguised themselves as Nataka Brahmana, and they went and waited for all the people to go. And then they approached Jarasandha, and Jarasandha was not like a dummy guy. He could understand by their walk, by their tone, their face, the scars on their hand, that by handling all the bowstring, that these people were Kshatriyas. But he still respected the fact that they were guised as Brahmana, and he obliged for a fight. Now Krishna was out of the picture, because our friend Jarasandha said, I don't want to fight with this coward. Then he looked at Arjuna and said, no, Arjuna is not as strong. Let me fight with Bhima. So he thought Bhima would be his co-equal, which was true. Then they selected a place. Look how complicated they made it. It was not like they immediately started fighting in the palace or anything. So they got the Gada, they started fighting. And then they were equally matched. And then there was a stalemate, and they were fighting with their arms and wrestling and fist fight. Now the fight was going on for 27 days. Look at this funny format of this fight. Morning to evening they will fight. Evening, Jarasandha will say and treat them as a guest with respect, and he would give them food, and all of them will take care of their body, take care of the pain, massage, whatever, and morning again they would fight. So on the 28th day, now what was happening was Bhima was losing his heart, losing his strength and hope. So Krishna knew the past of Jarasandha. There was a Raja called Brihadratha, and he had no children. So he went to a rishi called Chandakausika, who took pity on the king, and he gave him a mango, and he blessed it and he gave it to him. But the rishi did not realize that he had two wives. So the Raja loved both the wives. So he cut the mango into half and gave it to each wife. So each wife delivered exactly the half of the child. Now when the child was born, like only one half, it was almost scandalous. So they decided to get rid of this fetus. They took both parts and threw it outside the city. At night, there was a Rakshasi called Jara. She was smelling this human flesh, and she said, "Let me go and pick it up." So she picked both the pieces. The minute she held it, it joined together and became a child. And she didn't have the heart to kill the child, and she realized it was this Raja's son. So she came back and gave that newborn to the Raja. So Raja was so happy. So he named after her Jarasandha. Sandha means join. Jarasandha means joined by Jara. That's all. Now our Bhima was losing his focus and strength. What was the way to get out of this? So Krishna realized that he had to prop up Bhima's strength. So he took his tejas and infused it in Bhima's body and mind. And then he communicated a strategy. He took a twig, he ripped it into two and threw it into two different places. And then what happened? Bhima literally took that hint, understood that, and he ripped Jarasandha into two parts, and the decades long problem was gone permanently. And Krishna immediately installed Jarasandha's son, his name is also Sahadeva, as the next king of Magadha. And he also released all the kings who were languishing in the prison. Now these people already had Krishna as their Paramatma in their heart, and that is why they sent the messenger in their first place. Now Krishna sent them back to their kingdoms and told them to rule the kingdom justly. We will end the story here. I know that we took a long time to look at the story, but our focus is on understanding this Krishna's episode and applying it in our daily lives. So first thing we will look at is, see, big problems will need different solutions in our life. If you have only one solution, and if you are only looking at it with one prism, then you may not be able to solve the problem. See, Jarasandha was a multi-decade problem. Now, Krishna killed all the minions of Kamsa one by one. And then he went straight to Kamsa and he handled him himself. But he did not do the same thing with Jarasandha. Because he had to look for different things, have to look at different problems with a fresh mind. You can't have the same approach. I solved the problem one particular way. I will solve every problem the same way. It doesn't work like that. So what happened? He let go Jarasandha to satisfy his ego, and he even added fuel to Jarasandha's ego by acting that he was coward. And finally, even when Rukmani's wedding was there, when he confronted Jarasandha, he did not kill him. He could have easily. But finally, when he understood that this is the time this fellow has to go, that's the time when Bhima was used and the problem was solved. So basically, one problem of Jarasandha, Krishna is showing different methodologies to approach. For example, if I want, let's say $1 million. If I want $1 million, I can think of getting 100,000 in few different ways. I can think of 50,000 in few different ways. And I can get multiple solutions. Instead of just looking at I want 1 million, you break down the problem and you approach from different perspectives. So that is exactly what we can take as a takeaway for our lives. Second thing is, think outside the box. See, if Krishna looked at Jarasandha the same way he looked at every other enemy, he would have not understood, he would not have used his potential. But what Krishna did was, we used the word Karya Chikirsaya. That's what Bhagavatam uses. Now, Krishna had a focus on long-term plan. What is the long-term plan? Jarasandha has tremendous organizing and administrative skills. Imagine if you and I were to raise 23 Akshaunis of army. And as you can remember and recall, that even Duryodhana was able to manage only half the size, only 11 Akshaunis. Pandavas and Kauravas put together could put only 18 Akshaunis. But the master administrator in Jarasandha was able to put 23 Akshaunis, and not only once, he put it 18 times at least. So imagine how many elephants, how many war horses, how many chariots, how many weapons, how many soldiers, foot soldiers. What about the food, training? What is the stay? How about wages? Can you imagine the administrative nightmare? And what was Krishna all the time thinking? Dushta Nigraha Sishta Paripalana. He wanted to destroy the bad people and protect the good people. So Krishna was, instead of him going and searching all these 23 Akshauni components of people somewhere lost in the masses, he decided to outsource that problem to Jarasandha, and all he would do is, Jarasandha would bring all the army, he would kill everyone, leave Jarasandha's ego intact and send him back. So Jarasandha would come back again with all the people. So who is doing Krishna's work? Jarasandha. Who is Jarasandha? Krishna's enemy. So look at the brain of Krishna, that he is using even an enemy to do his job. And that is a very, very interesting proposition, isn't it? And that is how we should, if in our office we have so many people who don't listen to us, we may be the superior, and our subordinates may not listen to us. But here is Krishna who is taking advantage of all the enemies. Next point we need to look at, practical point, is teamwork. Look at the different aspects. Now, Krishna could have gone and fought the war on his own. He would have still won. He is Krishna. He could do anything. But remember, he took Balramana also. Same way, when Rukmini Harana happened, Balramana saw that Krishna left in a hurry. So he took an army, one Akshauni of Vrishnis, and he went and fought. So again teamwork is emphasized. Again you look in the final team when Krishna put together, we see Bhima Arjuna joining Krishna. Again teamwork. So sometimes what happens, Krishna could have easily killed Jarasandha. Why should he need Bhima, Arjuna and all those things? And also understand, Arjuna went there, what did he do? Arjuna played a very important role keeping the psychological profile of Bhima up. And it was also a psychological tactic to give Jarasandha multiple choice and force him to pick Bhima. Because Krishna knew his end is through Bhima only. So also understand, if Krishna did all the work, right, then what is the point in having a team? So sometimes in our team, we should let other people, whether it is our family, whether it is our office, whether it is in politics, you should let the spotlight be on the other person also for some time. See, for example, if a government is running, if the government is saying like everybody is doing, for example, all the road network in India has been done wonderful job by Nitin Gadkari. He's been doing a stellar job for the last 2 terms, right? So, if you look at, if Modi comes and says, you know what, all spotlight should be on me, or no focus on these people. No, everybody gets a chance to shine by doing their excellent part. So, you and I should give the opportunity to other people so that they can shine. That is another important message. Now, look at it, another important thing. Balramana, first time itself, he wanted to kill Jarasandha. Krishna said, stop, don't do that. You are not supposed to kill him. So, Krishna did not give the complete picture to Balramana till the end. But Balramana was given clear instructions what he should and what he should not. So, when you are having a team member, let's say for example, you are having a master plan for your company. The CEO need not have to open and put all the cards in front of every person, starting from the janitor to the manager, he need not have to tell. But most importantly, every person in the team needs to be given their role and their task, and they should have clarity. So, I want to run a company, I am the CEO, I tell the finance team, you need to focus on finance so that we can grow the company and become double the size. They don't need to know that what I am doing in the sales department, what I am doing in the production line, or what I am doing for marketing. I don't have to tell them. So, the finance team has to be given instructions, next year, this time, get ready to have double the sales. Same way, I go to the marketing department and say like, hey, get the marketing going on. I don't have to talk production problems with them. So, even in a family, when we talk to our children, we don't have to talk everything. As a parent, you don't have to talk every single thing to the child. You should have a boundary, what they should know and what they should not know. And same way, everything need not be told to everyone. At the same time, if you want a team to work, that team has to have clear instructions, and that is exactly what we learn from Krishna. Now, there is another aspect. Let's say, for example, these are conflicting information. First is focus in the now. Okay, but you should have a big picture. That means I want to have a particular sales, or I want to have let's say that I want to have 10 million in the bank or 1 million in the bank, whatever may be the case. And I am right now not even a thousandaire. Instead of daydreaming that I am already a multimillionaire, what should I be doing? Hey, how do I put the next $1,000 in my bank account? How do I, before I even put the $1,000, how do I get out of my debt and come to at least zero? So, the focus has to be on the now, not on the mere daydreaming part of the future. At the same time, you should have a big picture so that you have a goal to work for. So the important thing is, if you are not living in the now, imagine you are fighting, you are Krishna. Okay, you are Krishna and you are fighting Jarasandha. Now this is the fifth battle. Now if you are not focused on the now and you are focused on the past, what would happen? Oh my God, look, this fellow already bought 4 times 23 Akshaunis. The size of this army is bewildering, and this is blah blah blah. And what do? I get disheartened, disillusioned. And if I look at the future, I look, hey, every time this fellow is escaping Jarasandha, now I am confused myself, right? I am acting like Krishna, but I am also acting as myself. Every time this fellow goes and he comes back with an even bigger army, more renewed strength, and we are doing this again and again. It's like a deja vu. It's like stuck in a loop. So, what do? So, this is exactly what we do in our life. We either look at our past and we keep saying, like, oh my God, all these problems are there for me. Or we look at the future and we get disheartened. I don't know. I don't even have 1 rupee. How am I going to become Kaun Banega Karodpati? Because I have a dream to become a Karodpati. How do I do that? I don't even have 1 paisa to my name. So, bottom line, we need to understand, we need to begin with the end in mind. But at the same time, we should have the big picture. But our action is only in the now. If Krishna were to take the eye off the now, what will happen? He will become just like us. So, if we want to copy Krishna, we want to focus on that big picture in our life. Now, what is the big picture we all have? What do we all share? Now, some of us may not be married, so they want to get married. Some of us may already have married, they want to have children, or maybe they want a bigger job, they want more money in the bank. We all have these diverse dreams, right? But that is not what unifies all of us. What is common to all of us? We are all Jivatmas, and all the Jivatmas are in this loka, in this samsara. Because of their karma, they are born in this janma. And in this janma, they want to go, they want to get rid of the karma. But what we are doing is busy making more karma, so that karma again pulls us back to another janma. And again we are reborn in a different shape or form. Again we are born, again another janma, more karma. This cycle is going on. So we want to look at our potential. What is our potential? Those are the Purusharthas. Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. Now you take the Purusharthas and you focus on your life. How to implement that at all levels. Not just Kama, not just Artha, but mainly Dharma, and Dharma will eventually lead you to Moksha. So the focus has to be, how do I pull back instead of my life being bombarded by so many Kama, how can I pull it back and root it in Dharma? And once I am rooted in Dharma, it will eventually take me to Moksha. So how do I do that? That is the question. Now, there is another thing lesson we can learn. Some of the people I interact, they are always worried about what other people think. Oh, this person told this, he said I am useless, he said I am great, he said I am super great, that person said, this person said. We believe the other person more than we believe in ourselves. We believe in other person's certificates more than our desire to be rooted in Dharma. Now, Jarasandha called Krishna a coward and a ranchor. Look at the irony. 17 times Krishna defeated him, and this fellow ran away 17 times. But the one time Krishna did it for tactics and for strategy, that he had to call Krishna as the coward. Now, Krishna did not let that bad name go to him. Why? Eventually, those kind of false allegations get washed out. Like some of the interesting things that are happening in Gujarat area today and yesterday. Some bad people have been arrested after escaping, dodging the law for several years. Some fake NGOs who have been looting people and minting money. So what happens, all these days they were giving the bad name to the person who didn't do that. Now the long arm of the law has caught up. Same way, don't be worried about other people calling you something as long as you are rooted in Dharma. It doesn't mean, if let's say that some person says, hey, you are not following Dharma, pay attention. Don't say that, no, why should I listen to him? Your only focus has to be, am I aligned in Dharma? Don't worry about the names or the tags or the monikers which people give. Next lesson we can learn, I told you this is a very powerful story, and we are not even going to scratch the surface. We are just going to look at it with a methodology how to extract this essence out of it. So you can take this story and replay in your mind, maybe even replay this lesson, and you will be able to get a lot more lessons from it. So the next problem we are going to lesson we are going to take, be bold to change a direction or a stance. Like if you are known for a particular skill set, sometimes you will have to come outside the box. We already spoke of that. So be strong enough to figure out that you want to change the directions. How do you change the directions? What did Krishna do? For Kamsa and his Rakshasas, what did Krishna do? Every few months, one Rakshasa would come. Krishna would, just like swatting a mosquito, he would kill. That was okay. And then he went and tackled Kamsa one-on-one. He went and destroyed Kovalaya Pita, that elephant, and then he went and took care of Mushtika Chanura, and then he went for Kamsa. That was the story. But with Jarasandha, able to get 23 Akshaunis, unlike Kamsa who didn't have that big army and all in Mathura. He was just a big, bad, burly person, probably very powerful, but he didn't have that kind of energy like Jarasandha and administrative skills like Jarasandha. So Krishna took care of this 17 times they killed the 23 Akshaunis. Now this was already one level of change. Now the 18th time when Kalayavana also joined the attack at the doorstep of Mathura, Krishna was not ready to use the same playbook. He changed the tactics. So when sometimes we look at the same problems in our life the same way, oh, this problem comes, I'll solve this problem. And for example, you don't have money. Now you are now working on budget. Now what happens? You say like, okay, this is what I do, this is what I do. And then this month some unexpected expense came. Again next month you are again paying back the debt. Again you are doing that. Same strategy you are using. It won't work. So we need to come with different solutions for the same problems. So you need to have a fresh look into the problem every time. Don't drag the old playbook and say like, hey, this has been working for the last 10 times. We will replay the same. No, it is not going to work that way. Next thing, be careful with ego. This is very important, right? Krishna was dealing with who? Jarasandha. If Krishna had applied a little bit of more pressure and attacked Jarasandha, what would have Jarasandha done? He would have committed suicide and end of story. If he let Jarasandha win a little bit, he would have caused enormous damage. So Krishna could not do that also. So he had to come with the appropriate level of hitting his ego, and every time he was thinking about the losses, he was thinking about the losses that he had incurred. He would basically go back, instead of worry about the losses, how he got into that, he would think about how to plan for the next mission. So imagine the delicate operation Krishna was doing on Jarasandha's mind. That was incredible. Then look at what happened in same thing when Krishna had to run away and do a fake story of running away the 18th time. That was done entirely to feign the victory for Jarasandha. Again boosting his ego so that he can do more papa, so that he can be taken care at the appropriate time. Again same thing happened when Rukmini marriage came. Krishna could have easily killed him, but he again disgraced him enough to let all the bad actors show their ugly faces so that he could take care of it. We saw the same tactic again Krishna doing. He could have just sent Bhima, he could have just sent Arjuna, or he could have just gone himself. But to psychologically play with the mind and ego of Jarasandha, all three went together. And he knew that Jarasandha would identify them, and they also declared themselves. So it was a master understanding of how to deal with people's egos. So we look at people all around us, whether it is our wife or a husband, children, our boss or our subordinates, whether it is our co-workers or whether it is someone who is a co-traveler in a bus. All of us have egos. Imagine this, you and I are at a core the Atman, but this Atman is surrounded by a huge bubble of our ego. So when I talk to you, my ego is talking to your ego. That is what is happening right now. So I have to be very careful, because all the people who are coming here are my friends. I can't put the guard down and treat them with disrespect. Then what will happen? I am stepping the bounds and hurting somebody's ego. Then again what will happen? It will set a cascade of events. Hey, you know what? You go to this Sachidananda's room, he is treating people badly. Another clubhouse talk, they'll put Sachidananda down, something like that. So in our life also, when we are talking, see here we are trying to take advantage of Krishna's story and make a practical connection. That's what we have been striving. And today's focus has been big problem but different solutions through the lens of Jarasandha. The same problem Krishna looks at in different times differently. The other thing we want to look at is Krishna is always prepared. Are you and I prepared for our problems in our life? Most likely no. Most likely it is so unexpected this problem came. It is so unexpected I was hit with some financial problems or some marital problems or relationship problems or some other problem, right? But if you really slowly look at the replay of your life, frame by frame, most of the time we could have done something ahead of time. When all the signs were trending in a direction, we ignored it. And that is why the problem manifested in the particular way. I would say 9 out of 10 times. There are times when it comes unseen, I agree. But most times we have a clue. So how is Krishna showing this example? So we refer to the Bhagavatam description. When Krishna came to the battle, before this Jarasandha episode happened, Krishna had already completed his 2-month course with Sandipani Maharishi. So basically, Krishna is saying that, are you educated enough to handle the problems that are going to come in life? Now, many times we have college education, but we don't have real life education because we don't connect ourselves with the Shastras. Because most fashionable for most Hindus is these Shastras are old stuff, old stories, who wants them? But these Shastras give us life lessons like how we have been unearthing now. Our purpose is to take that and apply in our life. If I don't read the Shastras, I don't take the lessons out of it and apply in my life, whose problem is it? It's mine. So, Krishna also, before the first time when Jarasandha came, he got 2 different chariots, one for Balramanna, one for himself. That was filled with all Divyastras. And Krishna said, hey, we are now ready for the challenge. Remember, the same thing happened. Krishna went and applied this lesson to Pandavas later. The Pandavas were busy sitting in the forest morning to evening listening to Satsanga and crying. Oh, you know what, this bad Duryodhana, this mad Duryodhana, this idiot Dhritarashtra. All they were doing is sitting and doing gossip. Krishna one day went there and he smacked the head of Arjuna and he said, dummy, you are supposed to be a great warrior, but do you even understand what kind of problems you are going to confront? Oh, I am going to face Bhishma, Drona. He said, have you looked at your arsenal? Have you looked at your weapon range? It is like you are taking a butter knife and trying to fight the Chinese border. Look at the enemy's weapon range and are you prepared? And then he sent you go and get the weaponry, but for that first you need the blessing of Shiva Bhagavan. So he asked him to do tapasya on Rudra and he gets Pasupadastra, and only after Pasupadastra is obtained and he proves his abilities, Indra and other devas say, hey, you can take our weapons. So, are we preparing for challenges in our life? That's the big question Krishna asks through this episode. Then, look at it how Krishna, see, we have to look at the episode. This episode is juicy, filled with so much life lessons that it's hard to just stop talking and limit it with only, it's kind of such a travesty that we have to touch so many points and then run away. We can take each point and we can go for 1 hour, each bullet point. Now, for most of you who would like to look at this article that is pinned up, you can go and read that article for a quick reference. That's a companion article to this talk. Now, Kalayavana came next time. We already saw that Krishna was ready to change his plan. And this time when Kalayavana came and Jarasandha was supposed to join in a day or two from another direction, although these two forces had not interacted, having two enemies at the doorstep is not a pleasant thing to have. So what Krishna did, immediately he called Vishwakarma and he said, create a safe place in an island called Dwaraka and immediately transfer all the people there through his Yogamaya. Also, same way, whenever Krishna does something, you should know that there is a backup plan. Like if you have a house which is having a lot of electricity issues, do you have a UPS? Do you have a generator? So same way here, when Krishna went with Bhimarjuna, Arjuna was a backup. Krishna was also a backup. So, can you look at your life problems and do the homework ahead of time? Have sufficient backups? That is what Krishna's message is in this. We are continuing this wonderful story of Jarasandha, and we are trying to extract the rasa out of it. Now, the other thing is, in whatever we do, are you just? Are you being fair? See, in Draupadi's Vivaha time, the assemblage was for a nice cause, wedding. Though it was originally planned by Rukman to give his sister's hand Rukmini to Shishupala, Krishna did not want to do anything negative there. So all the idiots assembled under Jarasandha were given a sound thrashing, but Krishna did not kill them. Same thing happened when Krishna took Rukmini. Rukman chased with one Akshavani Sena. He caught up with Krishna. Now this was joke for Krishna. This was peanuts. He just watered them like a mosquito, and then he had a chance to impress his wife to be. And then he was ready to, Rukman was putting all the attack on him as a single person. Krishna could have easily killed him. But when Rukmini said, please don't, and our Balramana also came to that place and he started giving lecture. The irony is later the same Rukman was killed by Balramana. That's a different story. But Krishna was fair. Krishna was just. He did not say, okay, good time, good occasion, why do we start our life by killing wife's brother? Because she is not going to understand Vedanta. The minute I come, I show, okay, this is what. So, we have to give a longer rope. We will look at that Rukmini story another time. We'll definitely look at it. This filled with so much spiritual meaning. Just like we saw the spiritual insights into Kamsa's minions, the same way Rukmini's Vivaha has got a lot of practical applications to each and every one of us. We will look at it at another time. Now what happened? Same way Rukmini, when Jarasandha was killed, Krishna released all the people and sent them with respect to their respective kingdoms. And he did not go and bargain with them. Hey, you know what? This is a political release. All of you should come and support me. This is not Maharashtra MVA government. It's not a political support. Everybody come and support Yudhishthira because I released you. No. And on top of that, Jarasandha's son was installed as the next king. And his name we already saw was Sahadeva. So, Krishna was fair, and even in the thick of war, Krishna was always fair, and that is a huge lesson for all of us. The last point we would like to look at today, I know we are a bit over time, but for the discussion purpose we will open up shortly after this. We have to wait for the right time. See, the very first encounter, Balramana could have killed Jarasandha. He was too strong for Jarasandha. But Krishna said, we will wait for the right time. Not the 18th, 17 times, not the 18th time, not during Rukmani's Vivaha, but you have to wait for the right time. And we already saw the importance of Krishna using another team member, Bhima, instead of he doing it himself. He did it through his tejas infused on Bhima. So the important thing is we have to wait for doing the right time. Even in life, our own life, sometimes we have that rush, we have that urge to do things fast. immediately. But in this rush world, we don't take enough time to think about the importance of doing it in the right time. So let us focus on all these points, and as we saw throughout this entire episode, this story is filled with so many wonderful messages. It's almost like a management lesson, one after the other after the other. It's almost like a life lesson, one after the other after the other. See, if you take sugar cane, the top part is not that sweet, but if you take the bottom part and you put it in that roller, you can crush it, and that rasa comes. Another time you put it in the roller, you crush even more, and you crush third time more, fourth time more. That's how they make the sugarcane juice, right? And you extract all that sweetness out of it. But after a few times, what happens? All that sweetness is gone. But when it comes to Krishna's Madhurya, you put it a million times. The millionth time will be more sweeter than the first time you had put. So, let us take this Jarasandha's story as an impetus to look at Krishna's life and all the practical lessons. We will again recall the methodology why we are doing it this way, so that we can look at all the Shastras in a particular light. We have Nirguna Parabrahma. You and I cannot describe what it is. Rishis cannot describe it. Vedas say that I can't describe it. It just gives some pointers. Then you have Saguna Brahma, the one with all Divya Kalyana Guna. It has all the divine qualities. But what happens is, it is so big, we can't even explain. See, even to tell the 23 Akshavani size, it's kind of like a big number. Can you count the grains of sand in a beach? Can you tell the number of oxygen atom molecules in Earth? Forget about the universe. It's kind of like a mind-boggling thing. We can't even catch up with those sort of things. Then how can you explain the Saguna Guna of Paramatma? Can you tell about Krishna's prowess? Can you tell about Shiva's grace? Can you tell about Devi's compassion for you? All these are beyond words. So the Saguna Brahma is again something which we can only worship. We can fall at their feet, repeatedly pray to them and say, please, thank you, bless me. And then out of the divine grace, this Saguna Brahma, to establish Dharma in this world, in this Prapancha, it again and again takes different avatars. And it comes again to help us to evolve to the next level. Why is this Saguna Brahman taking so much effort for it to take an avatara and come and help us? It can sit there and it can just get the Dharma restored just like that. But this Saguna Brahman has such a wonderful compassion for us, love for us, that it wants every jiva to attain its maximum potential. What is our maximum potential? What is that final destination? That Param Dhamma we all share. That Param Dhamma, what we all share is that Paramatma. So, we want to focus on that, to help in that process, in that evolution, to keep that favorable environment of Dharma. This Paramatma repeatedly takes avatara. Now this avatara also we can't explain. Now explain to me, for people who know Krishna's avatara, how can a 1 or 2 day old infant Krishna drink such a big powerful poison from Putana? How did Krishna do all the chamatkara right as soon as he is born? How can you explain that he danced on Kalinga and he sent him to the ocean? How can this Krishna do so many leelas beyond our mind? So, even to comprehend this avatara, we can't. So, the same Saguna Brahman, Nirguna Brahman, this avatara, we can't understand. So, we are trying to look at Krishna through the lens of an exalted human being, which he was in the avatara also, right? That was one of his facets. So we are looking, when we look at Rama, we are looking at Purushottama, but again we are looking at him like, hey, you know what? He is the golden standard, what we want. He is the golden standard, Rama Rajya. He is the golden standard, what we need to be. So same way Krishna we are looking at from a person like, instead of saying that Krishna can do all these things, we reduce Krishna in our mind, with our limited mind, we look at Krishna as a superior human being. Now what are we all? We are all human beings. Now if you look at Krishna as an avatara, we will say, that is avatara, we can't do anything. Obviously we can't talk about Nirguna and Saguna Brahman. But what Krishna did as a superior human being, I can achieve, but I have a problem. I am not a superior human being because I am mixed with all the gunas that are pulling me down, all the bad vasanas. So I want to cleanse all my vasanas by looking at Krishna as a role model, Hanuman as a role model, Rama as a role model. I am looking and reforming myself. There is a guna karma transformation happening in me. When I look at them as a role model, take their life lessons, apply in my life, and I become that lesson. So that is the effort now we are doing to come to the footsteps of that Krishna Bhagavan. Once we understand that I can be at that level, now my mind is sufficiently cleansed. With that cleansed mind, with that sattvic mind, I look at the same Krishna. Now I don't look at Krishna as a superior human being. I look at Krishna now as avatara. Because my mind is clearer, cleansed. So that is the process we are trying to do. And that is the methodology we are going to do throughout this practical Krishna series whenever we are going to do that. There are so many other, about 7 or 8 other articles related to that series, and it will continue to pop in as time permits. But that is the lesson I want, the message I want to deliver, and I would be glad if all of you take that central message. Don't look at Bhagavan as avatara and push it aside. Don't look Bhagavan as Bhagavan and push it aside. Look at Bhagavan as a superlative being because he took so much effort to come down. Vishnuvai Yajna, right? Why do we call Yajna? Because what is the sacrifice Bhagavan is doing? That Nirguna Brahma is sacrificing its Nirguna nature and taking Sakuna nature, sacrificing that also and taking Avatara nature and coming down to our level. That is a sacrifice, is it not? That Vishnu is again and again and again doing that sacrifice for us in a very simplistic sense. Now, I am not saying that that is the real purpose of calling Vishnu Yajna, but if you look at it from this perspective, you look at Krishna with renewed love and respect for what he is doing to us. And you will never think Krishna as someone who is 5,000 years before your time. You will look at Krishna as an immediate role model that we all need to copy and emulate. And since we are going to do that, we go jump time, because Krishna is beyond time. We jump time and we get connected with Krishna, Avatara, and we start looking Krishna in a different sense. And thus we have accomplished, my bandhus, what the rishis want us to look at these avatars and learn. So with those thoughts, let us take to studying these scriptures not only for our artha and kama, not only for spirituality, but for our day-to-day living wisdom. That wisdom that is hidden in every single incident of all these avatars must be taken and applied. Then only we will be able to activate those spiritual faculties, and we can evolve quicker by getting rid of our vasanas. And then we can cross this ocean of samsara and attain Sri Krishna's feet. May that Krishna Bhagavan give all of us the right buddhi, bhakti, and shraddha to look at his life's leelas, and let us have enough sense, common sense, to integrate it in our daily lives and profit in every single way, not only saying that, hey, this is a spiritual thing, this is a everyday living thing. Jai Sri Krishna.